Promoter Eddie Hearn claims that Wilder Fury winner will not be #1 heavyweight. It's still Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk about this. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash app, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It definitely helps the channel out when you guys use that. And let's jump into it. So, per usual, Eddie Hearn is commenting on somebody else's event. It's a big fight week, Wilder versus Fury, MGM Grand Garden Arena, and that takes place this Saturday on ESPN and Fox pay-per-view. And, you know, Eddie Hearn has nothing to do with this event, but he, like usual, has a lot to say. So this is what Eddie Hearn says, and I want to get the quote. He's trying to put Joshua back into the picture. He says, quote, "Someone who has one belt can't say that they are #1 over someone who has 3 belts. There is no question in the world that Joshua has a better resume than those 2 guys, particularly Deontay Wilder. Joshua, he was the #1. He lost his belts. He won them back. He is still the #1. I can see the argument that one of those guys might be the #1, but no one, hand on heart, can say that they are #1 until they have met Joshua. That will establish who the #1 is. We're ready to go after the Kubrat Pulev fight with the winner of that fight. We know that they got a rematch clause, and maybe it can't be done." See, he's admitting that, like I told you, clout chasing. He knows this is a schedule for a trilogy. But we're ready to open negotiations straight after that fight if they want to. Fury has got to do what Fury does. He's got to be boring. He's got to make it horrible. He's got to jig around and do what he did against Klitschko, round by round, bank the rounds. He's got to make it a bit of a chess match, a bit boring, frustrating, but it doesn't matter. Wilder has got to be more aggressive. He has got to come out and take his chances early. He will be thinking all he has to do is chin him and it's over. So, anyway, let's talk about this. Joshua absolutely isn't the #1. You know, there's an old saying, I'm sure most of you guys have heard of, a proverb, an adage, quality over quantity. Joshua has more belts, yes, but that doesn't always mean it. I mean, no more. That's like saying Britney Spears sings better than Whitney Houston because Britney Spears' debut album sold more records than Whitney Houston. You know, that's just not how it works. There could be somebody that outsells Royce da 5'9", a new rapper kids like or something. That don't mean he nastier than Royce da 5'9". That doesn't mean he's more lyrically gifted or a more creative MC than Royce da 5'9". So just the amount of belts exclusively doesn't mean that. When people say #1, they're not factoring just belts, just popularity. It's not any one thing that makes it quantifiable. It's your body of work. It's your, you know, what you represent. It's your skill set. It's how hard you are to beat. You know, belts could be part of it, but we've seen Joshua, neither Fury or Wilder has ever looked in a fight as horrible as Joshua did against a guy 5 weeks, 6 weeks training camp and virtually quit, or the perception is that they quit. So at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn can say whatever he wants. I think this is a desperate plea. This is more clout chasing. This is proof of what I've been saying. Eddie Hearn is well aware and full aware that Joshua is now, you know, regarded as probably #3, you know, and he's trying to subject him and insert him back in the conversation, but it doesn't work like that. Right now it's Wilder versus Fury fight week. You notice all these headlines and stuff come out during the other person's fight week. So it just goes to show you how important this Wilder versus Fury 2 fight is. I suggest you guys all purchase it so it does well and we get more and more great matches, even if they're different promoters or whatever. This is a big fight for boxing. So I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to spend too much time on this video because I'm pretty sure the consensus is the winner of Saturday's fight is the #1. You know, in fact, Joshua is probably going to fight Kubrat Pulev, even though he's mentioned Wilder, he's mentioned fighting Fury in Saudi Arabia. That's just clout chasing because you knew he was likely to fight Pulev. But beyond that, there's nothing that Team Joshua or Eddie Hearn can do to brainwash. They might be able to grab a couple UK fans and tell them whatever and have them believe it, but they can't brainwash the masses, especially in America. People know the impact of Wilder Fury, especially if it's a clear, concise winner, no draw, obviously. And if it's a clear-cut winner, then that's absolutely the number one heavyweight. They'll be the most popular. They'll be the person, one belt or not, that has done a lot. I noticed that there's this UK camaraderie. Even the guys that, Tyson Fury will talk bad about Joshua. He'll talk about Eddie Hearns. And then Eddie Hearn has these little subtle digs, where he'll say, or Joshua and Dillian White. And it's like they all gang up on some patriotism, some compatriots or something. Like, it is really weird. The UK, Dillian White has said nasty stuff about AJ. AJ has said nasty stuff about Dillian White. Tyson Fury, and he's belittled and berated Dillian White, but Dillian White will still go on record and say, I hope Tyson Fury wins, instead of Wilder, who's the guy he says he's been chasing for the fight. It's really weird how the UK is moving right now in boxing, but it is what it is. Things like AJ just volunteering to help Tyson Fury spar. These both are supposed to be your sworn enemies. Why would you want to help either, win? Why don't you just, if you want to fight the winner, then you don't have to spar them to do that. You could do like the rest of the fans, watch the fight, and then target the winner. Like, it's just real weird, this UK energy in boxing right now. And I think the UK, as by and large, they're realizing they don't have the pool that they had a couple years ago when they had 13, 14 active champions. And it's like they're trying to stick together or something. I've never heard that Errol Spence volunteered to help Keith Thurman, a guy he's had history with and wanted to fight and probably still wants to fight. I never heard Errol Spence volunteer to help Keith Thurman beat Pacquiao, as opposed to he'll go to the fight, watch the Pacquiao-Thurman fight, and watch it as a spectator, just knowing he wants the winner. So really weird the way the UK is moving. Again, as far as Eddie Hearn, he could say that Joshua's number one, but I don't know too many people that believe it. I think the consensus is the winner of Wilder Fury 2 will be the star of the heavyweight division, and really a massive star in boxing, especially if the fight is as good as it's been promoted, and it punctuates in a clear-cut winner. Joshua, there's nothing he could do. Like, Joshua can announce Kubrat Pulev fight on Wilder versus Fury fight week, and it won't have the same impact as Wilder announcing Luis Ortiz 2 and Tyson Fury on Joshua Ruiz fight week. So he can't spoil the party in that way because Wilder has the biggest fight. So, Eddie Hearns and these little plans, they seem to be steps behind the big picture. Like I said, I'm not going to make this video much longer. Eddie Hearn could say Joshua's number one, and I don't believe it. He's entitled to his opinion. He's going to say whatever to boost his fighter. Wilder Fury winner's absolutely the number one fighter. I don't care if they have one belt. But again, there's a little camaraderie amongst the countrymen. He says Joshua has a way better resume, which is false. Who did he beat? Joshua beat Charles Martin, who hadn't really done much. He beat Klitschko, who had been stopped before, 40 years old. Joshua was much younger, equally big, weighed a little bit more than Klitschko, etc. So who did Joshua beat where his resume is way better? So you guys got to start analyzing what people tell you. Now is digital mob. It's new media. This is our season. So you can't just say this stuff. Now it's about showing receipts. Now in this digital space, digital mob, you got to start proving what you say. People just want to run around with these theories like Canelo's the face of boxing, which he was, but his numbers aren't coming out. His traction, his people are losing interest on fights like Ryota Murata and even Kovalev. So how could we just say it just because it sounds good and it's what has been the case if it is no longer the case? You know, Joshua was the #1 heavyweight. He was the, you know, the big guy at heavyweight. But how could we just remain and let that ride and just say it when that doesn't look like where it's at right now in the heavyweight division? You know, how could we just say Joshua's resume is way better than, he says, Fury and Wilder, particularly Wilder? See how he took that extra dig at Wilder? Like, how? Wilder fought Luis Ortiz, who no UK heavyweight with a name wanted to fight. He knocked him out twice. He fights Tyson Fury. So how is Joshua, if he's about to fight him a second time this weekend? So who is Joshua beat? The Andy Ruiz was supposed to be a step over opponent with late terms that they thought they could blow out. So that's the only reason you had a tough fight and a rematch there. So who is Joshua beat that his resume is destroying that? Wilder fought Bermane Stiverne twice, did him greasy in the second fight. He fought Eric Molina before Joshua. He fought guys like Johan Duhaupas, who later went on to fight like Povetkin and stuff like that. So I'm not understanding. He knocked out Dominic Breazeale in 1 round, a mutual opponent for Joshua, and he iced him sooner. So it's like, how does Joshua have this way crazier resume than Wilder and Fury, particularly Fury? These are top 3 heavyweights, the #1 and 2 heavyweights about to battle for the second time. Joshua has never battled more than 1 fight in the space of 2 years where he was fighting the #1 or 2 guy. The Klitschko fight was the only one, and you could give Klitschko the credit because his history, but he was coming off a loss and a long layoff. So he wasn't, Tyson Fury had beaten him. So Klitschko, at that space where Joshua fought him, he wasn't the #1 guy. How is he the #1 guy and Tyson Fury beat him? And Joshua to this day, hasn't fought against Tyson Fury or Wilder. So checkmate. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.